So I decided to go to a card show yesterday during what was supposed to be blizzard-like conditions in New York City. If you don't know, I live in Staten Island, so for me to get to Manhattan, I take this ferry. And just going on that ride, I couldn't see anything. The snow had been falling since the night prior, and even the city, was pretty snowed out. It wasn't that bad. It was just fairly cold. And once you got to Manhattan, everything was pretty well maintained, so it was super easy to get to the convention. It was being hosted at the New Yorker. It was called Big Apple Trading Card Show. A friend mentioned it to me in passing a couple days prior. I saw that it was on the weekend, and I decided I had Saturday free, so I might as well, spend a couple hours in the city, maybe pick up some cards. It was a nice venue, all things considered. One of the fears I had before I left that morning was the lack of attendance. I had a good feeling that vendors would probably be there because they pay so much money to attend these things. But for the average buyer or visitor, it might just not be worth going out there during those conditions. But I'm happy that, a decent amount of people showed up because you can typically make deals with the people who are there. People just bring their own cards. Like I brought my own cards to either trade or sell, and I picked up some things from people selling off their personal collections or excess. This is one of the cool tables that I saw. I'm not really too familiar with sports cards, but really caught my eye here were the two comics. The main one being that Marvel Mystery Comics #4, and a really solid grade for the age of the book. 4.0 for a early golden age book. I was curious at the time too, so I looked up comps and I saw that their most recent selling price was a CGC 1.5 for around 27,000. So I'm guessing that 4.0 is easily like a $40,000 book. And this is the second room at the venue space. There was like that kind of middle room, but that didn't really have actual vendors inside. This was the second ballroom that had vendors. It definitely didn't have as much of a selection or vendors compared to the other room. I'm not sure how the layout was done, but this room just felt a lot emptier in comparison. But there was still like decent stuff that you could probably find. One of the things that shocked me too is how many empty vending tables there were. I'm not sure if those just weren't booked or maybe like the snow conditions really pushed some people from attending and selling at the event. And you can see here throughout this B-roll, there's just a lot of sports cards. Going to the event, I was aware that it was primarily going to be sports, but I was hoping to see a little bit more representation of other TCGs. If anything, the only real game besides sports that I saw were Pokemon cards, which worked for me. Like this table right here, they had a mix of CSG graded sports and CGC graded Pokemon. They're really getting good use out of that membership. But for me, like I don't have any attachment to sports, so I personally don't see, like I wouldn't go after or like look through most of these cards. And the other thing with me is like I don't get sports card valuations. Like the prices on a lot of this stuff is jaw-dropping to me, all things considered. Because you can get some fairly rare Pokemon cards for a fraction of the price that you're getting fairly new, maybe not common, but definitely newer sports cards for. This is one of the boots that I ended up buying quite a bit from, Pokemon Butler. I actually saw them out in Houston, Collecticon, I believe in October. So it was really cool to see the same people vending at this type of a show. They had the largest Pokemon collection for sale, which makes sense just being their name is Pokemon Butler. But yeah, it was just a really nice varied collection. Coming up are these Indonesian sellers. I spoke with them when I first arrived at the event and I picked up some cards from them, but they had like this nice mix of Indonesian, Korean, Thai cards. I ended up buying some cards from them, but the thing that I found most interesting was that they had actually flown out from Indonesia to attend this event and a couple other events in like the vicinity of New York City. And here is one of the last guys that had Pokemon cards. He had like a mix of these first ed base hollows, some early Magic, some like 1940 Superman cards that I've never seen. But overall, a lot of the stuff was sports that I'm just not too familiar with. Maybe I'll learn more about it and try to pick up some stuff here and there. But overall, I would say it's still a good event and was definitely a decent trip. Hey, so I'm recording this the next day after the event. The snow has more or less completely melted at this point, so we're kind of just chilling now. I wanted to go over exactly what I had purchased, but I did make one mistake. When I got home last night, I reviewed the cards again and I divided them into these piles for stuff that I'm going to grade, stuff I'm going to sell raw, and then some stuff I actually already packaged up and sent to Troll and Toad. So I didn't actually record those items beforehand, so I don't have the footage to show you what they were. But for reference, they were, I'll put a picture up. They were this How full art card, him in a Alolan Raichu. It looked nice. I was going to grade it, but I took it out of the sleeve when I got home, and I noticed that the full art texture was kind of almost like pushed onto the back, which from my experience results in a very bad surface grade at CGC, so I'm going to sell it. Oh, the next one is this Rayquaza full art from Roaring Skies. Rayquaza EX full art, really beautiful colors and artwork, but just the quality on English cards is super poor. To my knowledge, the guy I bought it from, he said it was pack fresh. It looked really nice, but when I got home, I just noticed too many surface issues with the full art texture. Just I think it's a quality control issue on that. And the final card was this Hollow EX. I took it out the sleeve, looked at the bottom, and I noticed like a super small, like fingernail dent. I just didn't notice it when I was in the sleeve beforehand. So like I got it for a great price. I really wanted to grade it because I just think it meets the conditions to grade super high. But because of that dent, you're just gonna get dogged on surface. So whatever, I'm just gonna send it in and sell it raw. These are in my pile to just list raw. So this is the stuff that I ended up purchasing that they looked really nice, but there's only so much that I can tell when I am at a location. The lighting typically isn't that good because, you have these giant overhead lights. It's just not strong lighting. You really can't take the card out of the sleeve, really maybe put a flashlight up to it. That's just not how it works. So I couldn't do that. And when I got home, I noticed either scratches or widening that I hadn't really noticed in the conditions there. So sadly, I had to pull them. But like, if you look at this stuff, I already have a majority of these cards. It really was just me trying to double up on all the cards that I like. And as I was doing that B-roll, I probably mentioned that there was these sellers from Indonesia. They had flown out from Indonesia to vend here, which I found really like surprising. That was really cool to see. And they had some of the Shining line. So I picked up these Shining Lugias from them. But I noticed on both of them when I got home, you can see at the top, I can push it out of the sleeve for a reference, that the backs were immaculate. No, I'm pretty like strict with what I buy raw, but I didn't see any edge wear. But this was like a little bit tougher to see under those light conditions. There's just like, I don't know if it's scratches on the hollow foil border or I don't know, just dirt or debris, but I can't seem to get it off. And it's on both the Lugias. So, realistically, I really wanted to grade this card, but because of those issues, I just don't think it's worth it. And I forget what it was about the Shining Rayquaza. It was probably just scratches. But yeah, I'm probably just going to end up selling this raw. They're nice looking cards, really, really nice looking cards, and they're affordably priced. But yeah, I'm just very strict with what I try to send in. Any of the Legend era reverses are cool. But they're very tough and great too, just because, like, just think about the full body hollow that they have picks up scratches like crazy. And speaking of reverse hollows from the era, we have this Raichu. This one had, I think, a little bit of edge wear at the top, like that. But besides that, I think it presented super well. And for me, what's really important with these cards is that front, like reverse hollow, was very mint. I didn't really see any issues on there. So I'm going to end up grading that. And then more cards that you've definitely seen. Just a really nice Vespiquen. This Charizard, Blastoise, popular Pokemon. I have a lot of the other Giratinas from this era, but I haven't purchased them. I don't think I've purchased this one. It's the Giratina from the 11th movie promo file. But yeah, I'm just very much a value buyer. So if stuff is like a decent price, regardless of really where it is or where era it is, I'll buy it. It just so happened that this was all stuff that I'm a little familiar with, like I know prices on, and I really feel like I tend to get like this stuff you can get really good deals on. This was a cool one. I'm not sure what exactly it was a promo for, but it was cool Rotom artwork. This is a really nice Arceus. Maybe this card's gotten a little bit more expensive now. I don't know if it's because the game just came out, the new Legends Arceus game, but I think it really just is because the artwork's so great with like the temple in the background. These are some more Shinings I picked up from those Indonesian sellers. So I picked up 2 Shining Mews, 2 Shining Rayquazas, and the 2 Lugias. The 2 Mews looked really nice. I am still submitting one of the Rayquazas. It's, it holds up. I don't see any issues. This is at that previous booth. Just beautiful Espeon with that swirl placement right next to the head. One of my favorite of like the Legends era stuff is this Arcanine with the Firestone underneath him. This is just a great series. You can get Ninetales with the Firestone, and my favorite is the Politoed with King's Rock. I think that's great artwork. More Diamond Pearl stuff. Really nice Gardevoir artwork. This is just an Electrode from this blister. And this one was great. This Quagsire OP card. Just really understated hollow, but you really manipulate in the light. You can see those details of like the seaweeds behind him. It's really nice stuff. Beautiful Cresselia. And yeah, I keep saying this, but this is all stuff that I already have, but it's stuff that I just like, so I'm going to keep buying it. This Dusknoir, I don't know what this was a promo for, but it was just great condition. And then this one I picked up at a different booth. This is the same seller that had that How full art. There's a specific era that I like, but I'll buy anything if I think there's value. And this one I think was priced at $15. I was looking at comps on eBay between $25, $30, and it just looked super clean. That hollow texture is amazing. I think this is going to look so nice encapsulated, so I'm really excited. And I had that card in English. I pulled the English version myself, and I wanted to grade it, but the quality control was just so poor. So I had to sell that raw. And then I picked these up from a guy I met at the event. He had some Shadowless Hollows. I just love Shadowless Hollows. I've talked about them before. I just like the color saturation. It's a lot nicer, in my opinion, much more appealing than Base Unlimited. Same seller, I also got this Empoleon V alternate art. There's a little issue on the top left I noticed when I got home, but I think maybe that docks me a little on corners, but the rest of the card is pretty good. And then finally, this Dragonite EX full art. It's a little OC, and it was a great price. And as I said, like I go for value over everything. And the final cards, I do have them in Card Savers. These I also picked up from those same Indonesian sellers. So if you know, this card came out in Japanese. It was for Dream Leagues. It was a booster box purchase promo from Dream Leagues. You bought a Dream Leagues booster box, you got the Japanese version of this card for free with it. And when I spoke to the Indonesian sellers, they said that it was pretty much the same release there for this card. If you bought the set that this was the promo for, when you bought the booster box, the Indonesian booster box, you got this card as well. I just love the artwork, and I believe at this point I'm sold out of Japanese copies, so I thought I might as well re-up for a fair price on Indonesian. And I've spoken in the past, but I just really like stamps. And then this, same people, Pokemon Butler, they had just bought these cards that I'm about to show you at the show, and I saw them on the table, and I was like, oh, this is stuff I'm really interested in. We worked out a price there. So we got this Suicune EX. Love the e-reader border. Just fantastic Suicune artwork. And we can see, too, on the back, they're pretty mint. Really nice looking copies. Very sharp. Maybe at a good day. I've seen P.S.A 9s in similar condition in the past. I don't think that I'm going to get 9s at CGC, but, they're really nice presented copies. If you look at the fronts of both of these, the Venusaur and the Suicune, like, the fronts, I don't see any real issues. No scratches, no real edge wear or corner ticks. And even the backs, like, they're just really solid, sharp copies for these cards. And finally, this Charizard. This is the Expedition Reverse Hollow. Let's see. And this is the same thing with the other ones. It presents nice on the front, but this one's a little bit rougher on the back. We can see like multiple points of widening. But it was one of those things where I was already buying all these other cards from them, so I decided I might as well throw in like a bigger hitter like this and take home like a pretty sizable, decent haul to grade. So yeah, that's what I purchased. I'm pretty happy with the event, all things considered. Considering it was throwing like a snowstorm, so maybe a lot of vendors and buyers didn't show up, but there was still a decent selection. And as I mentioned, probably in the B-roll, like it was a $10 entrance fee for the event, very affordable, very fairly priced, and in that, like, compared to what I think I got out of it, I think it was well worth paying like $10 and spending a couple hours on a Saturday afternoon and like just participate in this hobby. So maybe that's for the rest of 2022, and maybe once a month I'll try to go out and do a video like this. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a nice one.